Welcome to our show. Today we have a guest. His name is Israel Alvarez from Mexico City. We're going to find out a little bit about what it's like for him to be a chef in Canada and also what it was like for him to have been a chef in one of the top restaurants in Mexico City. Let's bring him in. Welcome to our show.
Thank you, Amy. Thanks for having me.
Yes, so this is Israel Alvarez. You come from Mexico City and you're now in Canada.
That's right. It's been 12 years already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we wanted to know about what it was like as a chef working for the Pujol restaurant. If you can tell us a little bit about that restaurant, because lots of people don't know about it. And then also your experience there.
Yeah. So I started working at Pujol when I was about 22 years old. That's 2002. And the experience working at that kind of restaurant, it just opens your mind in many different ways. Your set of skills also amplifies, and the dedication and commitment that you have to put through every day, it's 100%, and the extra mile that you have in those kind of situations. But it also makes you feel so proud of working for a group of people that care about all the details in the industry, in the hospitality industry, to give you one of the best experience that people can go and have for the families or for business meetings or just to have a good time dining in the restaurant. And the experience that Pujol provides is an excellent source of happiness and a new experience for many people.
Yeah, and most people don't know, but Pujol is one of the top restaurants now. It has a Netflix. One of the top chefs has his own show on Netflix, Top Chefs, right?
That's right. Yeah. So Enrique Olvera is the chef of the whole group of Pujol, and he's a very successful guy with a lot of integrity and always looking to excel of what he does, and has put Mexican cuisine in a top level of among other cuisines in the world, and that's very important for Mexico. I think our heritage with culinary, it's been not taken too seriously for many years, until things start changing in the country, and that's a lot because of what his influence that he put into the restaurant and what he does.
Yeah, because a lot of times we actually think of Mexican food as cheap or something you can like street food, or something that is just going to be like a fun thing with friends that's not going to be expensive, but that everyone's going to love because everyone loves Mexican food, right? And so it's, when you watch that video, when I've talked to you in the past, it just sounds like he took it to a higher level. And I don't think most people ever have experienced the sophistication that comes with the choices that he makes as far as his vegetables, as far as his ingredients, and as far as the combinations that he makes that stay true to authentic Mexican and actually really reveal a lot about your heritage. So can you tell us just a little bit about his way of doing things and how that inspired you?
Well, Pujol really focuses on what is coming from the farms and from the producers around Mexico. So we always wanted to bring the best produce and the best ingredients that are around, and that's basically the main focus of everything. When you have a great ingredient, it's very easy to excel and to promote and to put things together in a dish that people can experience the wow factor, like, wow, I never had this before, even though I know that it's a taco, but I'm having one of the best tacos in my life. So that's very important for Enrique and for Pujol. and in terms of bringing always the best and using the best techniques and the freshness of your ingredients and the setup. This is like how Pujol sets the scenario to their customers, and that's all the single details that goes through the production and through service. It's a combination of team effort, just to provide the best experience, and to also recognize that Mexican food it's wide, and it has so many regional cuisines. And he's also been investing a lot in traveling, and getting the knowledge in regional knowledge, and he will always come back and think about how to implement those new knowledges into his menu, and that's how I see how he's been achieving a lot of rewards and awards around the world.
Yeah, and what's so exciting is you were part of that, and you had some experience already at cooking schools. You had gone to Spain and done some things, and then starting at his restaurant, you kind of started at the bottom, and then you slowly started getting more responsibilities and learning more with him.
Yeah, it was. So when I came back from Spain, I wanted to work for something that will really push me forward, and luckily I found Enrique at the restaurant, and we got an interview. Next day I started working. From that moment, I knew that I was in a place where I wanted to be, and it took me a little while to get through the process of climbing the ladder to become a chef de cuisine, which is in Spanish is called jefe de cocina. And it was a really good experience. Getting to know him, getting to know the people, getting to know all the team, and how we expand into providing one of the best experiences in Mexico in terms of Mexican food, right? As you can see, Mexico City has lots to offer in terms of food. Food is everywhere. There's many restaurants per capita. In every neighborhood, there's restaurants. There's so many things going on with food. So it was hard at the beginning to get the attention, but he was always pushing forward. Always want to push forward his team, and the dedication that we put into it in the whole aspect of the restaurant. That was what I think was the success of it, and it's been the success of it.
Yeah, and yeah, so moving on from, I'm going to take that word you just said, success, because we've had several conversations, and what I think so interesting is you're in Canada now, and I'm originally from the US. I've lived in Europe, and I feel like the European idea and the North American idea of success are a little different when it comes to how you're seen and what happens, and you're respected, and people are happy for you, right? In general, people are happy for you when you're successful. And so I'd like for you to share basically what happens, and that can be actually common in Mexico, when you become successful and you become in the public eye somebody who's successful and you become more and more well known. What can happen? There seem to be risks with that.
Yeah, I think the more you are exposed to the public, and the more you have some sort of a public eye, it becomes sometimes with risk, um, and that's something that you have to be probably careful, and yeah, so it is an issue sometimes when it comes about being successful.
Right, because you're in Canada now, and so can you tell the viewers what happened that actually was a pretty life-changing experience and made you decide, I'm leaving Mexico, I need to get out of here and get to Canada?
Yeah, yeah, I can share for sure that. So during 2007, 2008, I was having a little bit of a break from the responsibilities and working so hard at that level. And then it becomes it was just I was kidnapped in Mexico, and I think that it's something that changed my life in many ways. Um, and I think when you become part of a successful group, you might be a target, and people might think that they can take something from you, right? Something that you've been working so hard and you've been building all these from years. Um, and yeah, so it becomes an issue sometimes. And I was kidnapped for about 48 hours, and the situation wasn't really. It was something I never expect. Um, and yeah, the people that kidnapped me, they basically knew who I was, where I work for. They know my schedule, so they were probably looking after me. Um, and and that changed everything after. And when I was released, I decided to change my life, and I didn't feel safe in the environment. And I have to leave everything I built in those 5 years. And it was very hard to me to take the decision to leave everything and start new again, in a country that I wasn't even able to speak English at that time, like I do right now. And yeah, everything changed, and the situations in Mexico sometimes can be very hard.
Right. And what I think so interesting, it's kind of pertinent to what's happening in the world today. People feeling like, you see what's going on in the US, you see police brutality, you see all these things happening, and it's been so embedded in the system. It's so embedded in the culture that it's coming out, and people are like, oh, I'm surprised. And it's like, no, this has been going on forever, and these type of things have been going on in Mexico forever. And the police are, I'm going to say it, they're corrupt. And I guess we can find that in every single country, but especially in Mexico, it's known that way. And you even said, like, you went to the police and not much happened, right? Like, tell us when you went to the police, that what happened.
So yeah, so well, when I was released from this group of people, luckily I didn't have nothing much happened to me. A couple bruises and couple things like that. So I went the next day and I tried to figure out how to. So because they took my car, so they were doing some activities with while I was being kept by these people. So I wanted to check what are the deal with the police, and police. At that time, they didn't believe they thought I was lying to them. They didn't actually took it very seriously, because they look at me and they say, well, you're still alive, and you have you're good. I can see you don't have any bruises. You have your both ears, you have fingers, nothing happened to you, right? So that was very frustrating to hear that from an authority, and yeah. So
Right, because you said to me, in a different conversation, like, they didn't take it seriously because everything was perfect. You look physically okay.
that's right.
And you said to me even, like, you were lucky, because a lot of people come back and they are missing, like, fingers or an ear, or something really awful happened physically. But there's also that emotional side that's traumatic. And I feel like the fact that nobody was there to support you emotionally, the police didn't say, like, this is awful, this happened, we're going to find out who did this to you, this should never have happened. They
Yeah,
never said that. It was like, get out of here, this isn't serious.
yeah. Like, we have something else to look after. You're not that serious. Yeah, and they that was the, I think, was the moment I realized I needed to do something else, and that's why I choose to come to Canada. Hmm.
Yeah, and so you decided to leave everything behind. You came to Canada. You worked at a restaurant in Edmonton. That's correct? And then
correct. Yeah,
after that, you came to Victoria, where you are now.
that's right.
Yes, and you mentioned to me also that one reason you liked cooking was also because you had kind of grown up and that made like it was like a family environment where people socialize around food, and that also you were very connected to the Mexican heritage of the corn tortillas,
Mm.
and you wanted to do something with corn tortillas, the real corn tortillas that we don't find here at all, and almost you're almost, I would say, embarrassed by what people are considering the real thing. And I've seen your videos, I've seen photos from different meals that you prepared before COVID when you were working at a restaurant here. And I just thought the corn tortillas you're making look nothing like what you buy in the store. Like it's two different things, right? And so I wanted you to tell us a little bit about the foundation of a good corn tortilla and what that is to you.
Absolutely. They so what I do at what I was doing at the Breakwater, it was I tried to bring to Victoria the foundation of Mexican cuisine, which in terms of what we do down there, um, we have a huge variety of corn, and corn has been the basics of the civilizations in like Mesoamerican civilizations, right? Um, so what I try to do is to bring that foundation here in Victoria. So we were exporting, sorry, corn, single origin corn from Mexico, from different regions of Mexico, trying to help farmers down there as well to always keep that process of farming. Um, and what I try to do here is just to bring the best quality tortillas that are not available in the market. It's a process that it takes time. You have to use only 3 ingredients, which is the single origin corn, has to be organic and heirloom corn. You use calcium hydroxide, which is as like a pickle lime or a slake lime, and then you use water. So there's 3 ingredients that the recipe hasn't changed for centuries, right? And to compare with the tortillas that are in the market are 2 different things. They're complete 2 different things. So in order to get that process going, it's important to understand the process. You have to cook the corn, the dry kernel corn, with calcium hydroxide and water, near to a boiling point, and then let it soak for 16 to 14 hours overnight. And from there, next day, what I do is I come back to the kitchen and I start rinsing the corn. And the outer shell of the corn comes off, and that's when the magic starts. The components inside of the corn change, and it just makes more sense for the corn to be ground. So what I do is I grind the corn and I get a dough. That dough, it's how you make the tortillas. And it's there's nothing else. There's no wheat. There's no animal product into it. So it's completely gluten free. It's vegan, and most importantly, it's organic.
Yeah,
And
and it's also extremely nutritious. So when you use the real process and the correct type of corn, then you get something that's nutritious. And that's also important because you had told me once that um, America basically had come in and changed the entire way that they're cultivating and harvesting corn and stripped it basically of all its nutrients. And so now, Mexico went from a nutritional based corn tortilla to a basically corn tortilla that has no nutrients. And so you want to bring that in, like that foundation of the nutritious, delicious, and authentic Mexican tradition that's been around for hundreds, maybe thousands of years, right?
that's correct. Yeah. So that's very important for me to send the message to the people here, people in Victoria and in the island, and in even Vancouver. once you try the tortilla that is made with Nixtamal, fresh Nixtamal, which is well known as hominy in North America, um, the experience of Mexican cuisine change a lot. When you have a tortilla that is made from a masa harina, which is the product that is a nixtamal dough, but what they do in a large scale of production, they dehydrate it. So the dough becomes powder. When it becomes powder, it has a longer life shelf. So that's a very good commodity for a lot of people that live outside of the country, and they can do tortillas, tamales, all that stuff. But the problem that I found, or the disadvantage, I would say more specifically, is that the flavor, it's not nothing to compare to fresh nixtamal tortilla. The nutrients are completely lost because it's a product that it has been dehydrated, so it doesn't really have too much to offer. And the aroma, the texture, it's completely different thing. And I'm pretty sure you guys have experience when you hold a taco. When you hold a taco, there's also a way to hold the taco. You have to hold the taco with 3 fingers, like that, and go like this, right? When you do this, if you have a bad tortilla, it falls apart, right? Most of the time it breaks down. And even people do it at home, and they put it in a pan, and it kind of dries out, and it's never flexible. So when you see one of my videos on Instagram, or when you see one of the pictures on Instagram, you'll see that the flexibility of tortilla, it's almost like it was like a gluten, but it's not gluten in there at all. And it's soft, and it's earthy, and depending on what kind of corn you're using, I use currently I was using 4 different types of heirloom corn. It was a blue, a yellow, a white, and a purple. So you have different colors as well, which when you have industrialized tortillas, you might only have one color, either maybe 2, white and yellow are the most common ones.
Yeah.
And they've been frozen. They've been shipped from the States, or they've been shipped from Mexico, and mostly in the States to the whole North America, even to Europe. And so you have a tortilla that is been frozen or in storage for many weeks, and that just diminished the purpose of a good taco. And when people have that in mind, how tortillas taste. So when I came to Canada, I couldn't find that tortilla, and I tried all the brands, and I was pretty sad I couldn't have that smell that I remember when I was a child.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally relate to that, because it's like a lot of times, especially if you've lived in different countries or whatever, and then you're in a new country, and you can't find something that was basic for you, like everyday life, right? And then there's a substitute for it, but it's not the real thing. Like when we lived in France, it was so normal to go get our baguette, and everyone loves baguette. Like anyone from any country that comes to France, like they love to go to the bakery, right? And that's something French people do 2 to 3 times a day. They have baguette at pretty much every meal, and maybe 2 or 3, it's a really big part of their meal. And we moved to Canada like 5, 6 months ago, and I can't eat the bread here. Like I don't, it's not appealing to me. And even if I go to a good bakery, I'm kind of like, well, it's just doesn't have the texture I want, or the smell, or the feel. And even my girls are like, next time we go to France, that's the first thing I'm going to do is go buy a baguette, and I just feel like these type of things represent so much for us, and even for society, because they're known all over the world, a real baguette. And if you go to the grocery store, sometimes they're like super soft, and you're like, what is that? And same thing with the tortillas. You see them in a big plastic thing, and there's like 20 of them.
Yeah.
Right. And they're super flat and solid. You take it out and you're like, you smell it and you're like, yeah. And so I feel like this is the daily bread of Mexico, which had so many nutrients. And people today are looking for healthy things. They're looking for gluten-free. They're looking for vegetarian, and they're looking for something nutritious, low fat. Like this just answers all of it. Like this is just so perfect. And it's great that you want to bring it here and show people the authentic tortilla. And so you have a couple ideas. And since we're kind of in isolation in COVID and you're kind of coming up with new ideas, just share with us a couple exciting things that are happening for you that you're going to bring to Victoria in the near future.
Yeah. So the main idea I wanted to come up with, it's having Nixtamal tortillas more available for everyone, not only if you go to a restaurant. So in the near future, I would love to have some sort of a tortilla factory, some sort of a production site where I can offer tortillas. So not only me, but like many other people in the city that own Mexican restaurants can have access to that type of tortilla. I'm pretty sure that they also have some frustrations with type of tortilla they're buying from other companies or from the States mostly, that it's not probably something they want to use, or maybe it's the only options they can find.
Yeah.
But I also want to expand into that market, because the more people that have access to eat tortillas, Nixtamal tortillas, I think the grow it will be a big change in the city.
Yeah. And when you say Nixtamal, is that the type of corn, or is that a type of, or is that from the region, or what is Nixtamal exactly?
Nixtamal is an indigenous word which means it's a dough. It's a corn that is been ground with,
Okay.
and it's cooked with some ashes. Back in the days, ashes were something that the indigenous people of Mexico were using to cook the kernel corn, because you have to have an alkaline solution to it. Mostly in these days, we use calcium hydroxide to produce the nixtamal. And the nixtamal is basically the kernel corn that is being cooked with an alkaline solution. That is basically what is nixtamal. And from that stage, you can ground it. You can ground the corn and produce the dough. With the dough, you can have many products. You can have tortillas, you can have tamales, you can have tlacoyos. There's
Right.
many products that are available for it. So it's very versatile, and that's what it does. That's what it is.
Yeah, and I have a quick question about tamales because I love tamales, and when I go to the U.S., it's easy to find Mexican supermarkets, and so every summer I go with my brother-in-law because he loves cooking, and we get all the ingredients, and we do get that kind, and I'm sure it's the industrial one. You even told me the brand name. I'm sure it's that one. There's some brand that you always find.
For the corn.
Yeah,
The brand of the flour.
yeah,
Yeah, it's called Maseca.
right, right.
Maseca is the biggest yeah, it's the biggest company that produces massively produce. Uh,
Yeah. So what's like, so when we make our tamales, like we always think they're so great, but like what would the main difference be if I wasn't to use the maseca and I was to use the corn that you're talking about that went through a completely different process? Like would the texture be different? Would the taste, the smell, like
yeah, so it's like I always compare the like, let's talk about this, because I'm very interested in putting the message into your audience. So when you use a product that it's dehydrated and has a long life shelf, there's something that we don't know what it is, right? And so this flour, it's to compare with like instant coffee for me. When you have a
okay.
nice coffee, or you have a bag of mashed potato with its like dehydrated flakes of mashed
Yeah, like
potato.
from a box and you just like
But
add hot water and
so
yeah.
that's how I compare the Nixtamal, which is something is fresh and it has a lot of nutritional values, and the texture and the aroma and the flavor it's completely different when as you use the maseca or the or masa harina. Um, it is a different product, and it's not the same. It's like when I compare instant coffee with ground coffee. You do one coffee with instant coffee, and you do the other one with the
The
ground coffee.
beans, yeah.
It's a huge difference
Yeah.
when you drink one, it's like, oh, I don't know if I like this. When you drink
Yeah.
a nice coffee, you know it's a nice coffee. So
Yeah.
that's the challenge that I have in the next future, when people are gonna be buying it or trying it at home, and they're gonna realize we've been
Yeah.
missing this for decades. We didn't know that was tortillas was something really really good with a different flavor, with a different structure. So that's what I wanted to bring into the city. That people wanna try. When they try this Nixtamal product, they will completely understand what I'm talking about. So when you talk about tamales, and then you have this brand, all you need to do is add water and
Yeah.
salt, yeah, and then you have this aroma. But really, the flavor and the texture, it's nothing to compare with the nixtamal dough. And it's just like the day and night to me, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing all of this. And I wanted to just say thank you for sharing even, your stories from Mexico City and how you got here. I think it's amazing. A lot of people in your situation would maybe even want to like erase the fact that their heritage, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to remember where I come from because where I came from was traumatic, but you're still like, moving on, and you're still like, I'm from Mexico City. I like to cook authentic Mexican food. I'm raising the bar. I'm going to show people what it's about. Yeah, I had a traumatic experience, but I'm still proud of my heritage, and I still want to get out there and let people know what it is. Real good Mexican food, real good authentic corn tortillas.
Mhm.
And I think you're going to have a lot of success here in Victoria. I'm really interested and curious to see like your next steps. And I was even thinking like, how sometimes people say life's too short for bad coffee, or, they say stuff that's kind of like life's too
Exactly.
short for bad tortillas. Like
It
once
is.
like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing all of this, the history and your new projects and your past and all of these things with us. We wish you the best, and hopefully we can have you back on the show again once the COVID thing has, once you've decided how you're going to spread your love for corn tortillas in Victoria, what you're going to do. I know you have some really cool ideas coming up. Then maybe we can bring you back on, let people know your new venture, and let
Yeah.
people follow
There's
you on Instagram, see what you're doing.
Yeah, it will be nice if I we can do some events during the summer. There's something that I'm looking for. I met some chef in the last couple of weeks, and we might be doing something. We don't know, but I'll let you know. And I'll let you know when I have a piece of equipment that I'm already it's on its way to produce more of these lovely tortillas, and hopefully everybody can go and try it, and it's like a revelation. It's what people always tell me, you know what, you ruined my life for tacos. I'm like, why? Because then after trying these tortillas, that I never thought that tortillas will have a real value in the taco. And I always say, well, the foundation of a taco is a good tortilla. That's never been underestimated in Mexico. And I hope that this project will take it out the ground, off the ground, and everybody can actually have access to good tortillas in the island.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And we will definitely be staying in touch and getting back to find out how you're doing in the next couple months.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Thank you.